You know how many times I've lost a deal because the AI got confused or didn't answer the question or said the car wasn't here and it was? We are not in the automation for AI that it can do it on its own.
Well, welcome to the Kain Friends podcast, and this is sponsored by Dealer OMG. Our guest today is Frank Brothers, and Frank is a dealer principal of Red River Nissan in Ardmore, Oklahoma. And I'm going to bring Frank up on stage with me. And Frank, if you would, please introduce yourself to the audience and tell them about your business.
Yeah, how you doing? First of all, it's a pleasure to be here, David, and see you. So let's start there. And then I'm the dealer principal at Red River Nissan in Ardmore, Oklahoma. It's my first dealership. I've been in the car business 32 years.
Wow.
I had the pleasure of working for some big groups and some small stores. I started in upstate New York. I came home from the military, and in 1994, I got my first job at Nemeth Lincoln Mercury Nissan. And so I started my career with Lincoln Mercury, was where I was doing most of my business as a salesperson. Back then, in 1994, I'm giving my age. I'm an older fella. But, to make a long story short, I was on a flat plus a salary back then, and I didn't know any better. And so I'm selling 25, 30 cars, and selling cars really was good for me. And just to give a side note, I applied to, and I'm going back old times, to the Bell telephone 9X, and I was going to be a pole climber, and they had a long list, and I took the test. And so to give you the long story short, back then minimum wage was $3.25. I was already a salesman making $10,000 a month, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so they called me and they said, "Hey, you're going to make $5.25, which is above minimum wage, and you'll be an apprentice and do all that." I said, "No, thank you. I appreciate it." But anyways, I started sales, and I never looked back. I love sales. And then I went to a commissioned CDJR store in upstate New York. That was amazing. And I made my first check of $5,000 in a week when you could do. I just progressed my career. So Billy Fusillo was who gave me an opportunity to be a manager for finance. Did very well with him for 2-3 years, and then just progressed from there. And I ended up being the GM of Northway Toyota in Latham, New York for a long 9 years. Okay.
Wow.
Fast forward, you get to 2008. Obviously, 2008 came. I had a bunch of businesses. I had 3 used car lots, a carpet company, roofing company. I was taking all the money I was making in the car business and doing other businesses. So that kind of hurt me a little bit. I felt the pinch there. So I had to start over in 2009, right? I took a big hit like everybody else, and I had to start over. I started wholesaling and doing that and doing used cars. I had left Northway Toyota. I had tragic with my brother. My brother had passed. I ended up going to visit my uncle at Fort Bragg, and Facebook was just a big thing at that point. 2 guys at Hendrick Automotive Group seen me traveling to North Carolina to see my uncle that grew up with me and my brother, and said, "Hey, come visit us in Atlanta." I've never been to Atlanta. So I went to Atlanta. 2 weeks later, I moved there. I became a floor closer. So I had to start over. I was already a GM, but they said in the South, we do it a little bit different. And they did. And it was a humbling experience. I'll tell you why. 36 years old at the time. My boss was 25. It was a little hard to swallow at first, but I did learn a lot. It was very humbling, and it made me a better car guy in the end. I had the opportunity to meet a lot of great people through rising back up. I ended up running many stores for Rick Hendrick in the automotive group. And then I ended up with Asbury and went to NADA with them and stayed with them for a few years. And then I went back to the Hendrick Automotive Group. I went down to Florida, and I was with the
I wish I had a map.
Yeah,
I'd like to be.
I went right down the East Coast, and here's the reason: people need to feel valued, right? People put a lot of hours into the car business. We always sell the point that you make a lot of money in the car business. I think that's where we lose people. It's not about that. It's about respect. It's about time off with their family, but also they're giving back to you as employees, right? And so that's a lot of what I've learned, and the reason that I ended up doing what I'm doing and buying this store in Oklahoma. It was my first opportunity, and the reason I did it was because I call my holding company Fairfield, because I want everybody to be on a fair field. It can't be lopsided. It can't be the greed factor for the dealer, right? I say that humbly. It's not it is what it is. And it's got to be back to the employee, because those are the people working every day that represent you when you're not standing there all day, right? It's a lot of owners are not in the store, or they're not able to get a hold of. I'm in the store every day, right? And it is my first store. And then, I'm going to scale from there when I get to that point. But again, it's always going to be about the employees first, and then the customers. And the customers are important, but how can it be important if your employees aren't happy?
Yeah, boy, you know that. Now, you happen to be right there. They talk about the Red River rivalry.
That's right.
That you're getting the orientation, because I've noticed that you're literally in between Oklahoma City and Dallas.
Yes, sir.
So if somebody's trudging up from Dallas, or someone's headed down to Dallas, you're right there. Tell me a little bit about what it's like to do business in that kind of environment. And, do you have like different colored hats that you put on? You wear the red shirt on Saturday, or you wear the burnt orange? What's the strategy?
Here's the thing. I just tell my staff and myself, I just be authentic, right? Just be who you are. I don't want people to be who they're not. I really don't. I try to tell my staff that they are limitless. There's no limits. The only limit they really have is the one they put on themselves, right? Mm-hmm. I came from humble beginnings. Nobody ever gave me anything other than I got from hard work, right? Listen, I've beaten guys that are super talented. I can name a lot of super talented guys that I've beaten that respect me, and I respect them in the car business that we all know. Yeah. And the thing is that at the end of the day, it is a balance, because I am exactly 60 miles to the door of the middle of Oklahoma City and 60 miles to the middle of Denton, Texas, which is the next metropolitan, and I'm in between, right? And so, it is hard, because you have to appease two sets of people. But here's where people get it wrong. I don't really have to do that, because I just treat people the way they want to be treated. And they're humans, right? Like, I learned this early on, and I've been fortunate. I don't sell cars. I collect people. This is a people business. It's not the car business. The cars I have on my lot are everywhere. Those new Nissans are everywhere. The same car somewhere else. I have to be the differentiator in that system, right? And let me tell you what I tell my staff. And this goes to you too, Dave, right? You're special. Why are you special? You know why? There's no one else like you. That's the value proposition in wherever you're at in life and in the store, right? Because you have a DNA that's unique. So that's what I tell my staff. You have to be special. There's no other DNA in the world like you. You have a unique DNA. That's science. I didn't make that up. That's just a fact. So if you're unique and I can't duplicate you, I only have you, that's going to be the differentiator from them going to Oklahoma City or going to Texas. It's not the car. The cars are there. So again, you have to be the difference. You have to be the person that makes the difference of why I would drive an hour to see you. And that's really what it's to be.
Yeah. So a lot of that has to do with in a competitive marketing environment, you have to be able to convey that. It's one thing when they come in and talk to you, when they get to you. How do you make that message come across? And so, as you look at some of the differentials, everybody can claim that. You mentioned that everybody's got all the same Nissans and things of that nature. But, when you're bringing in, when you're out there in a crowded marketplace trying to get your customers to thank you, go back to your Facebook days and the fact that Hendrick discovered you and some of the things there. You're obviously doing something different.
That's right.
Anything you care to share?
So here's what I've done. Number one, I don't use advertising agencies. I know a lot of guys are going to frown when they hear me say that. Okay. Here's the reason why. Advertising agencies, I'm not saying who's bad or good. Here's where the problem is. I use the vendors that are experts in the field that I'm trying to dominate. What do I mean by that? Google. I use Foundation Direct. Okay.
Yeah.
They're pioneers in that market. They know they've been doing it a long time. I use Dealer OMG, great group. I love Facebook. I get a lot of business through Facebook. using Dave Lemon and Dealer OMG, I've dominated in the Facebook space. I have to dominate because I'm in the middle of nowhere. I'm a destination store. Do I service my own community? Absolutely. There's only 24,000 people, though. I can only service 24,000 people so much that I have to grow and outscale my PMA, because everybody will tell you, and this is what advertising agents do, you got to grow your own market, your own backyard. I understand that, but I can promise you, everybody here in town knows who I am because I sponsor community events. I'm part of the community. I'm in the Chamber of Commerce. I don't need to advertise them. I got to treat them well, right? Like I do very well in service here for a small store because I do take care of the community, right? But how do I sell cars and scale my store unless I have a message that works, right? I'm very fortunate with Dealer OMG, and I also use Reunion Marketing, and all of them know each other. We all get on one call at one time for 1 hour twice a month, and what we do is we go through it all together, and then there's no ego, there's no pride, there's no you do this and you don't do that. It's working together to row the boat in one direction.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, and it's made me successful doing it that way, because normally what it is in the car business, we do this. We put the blame, right? And so instead of, I don't want to do that. You do really good at this. How can we help SEO and not cannibalize it with paid search? How does Facebook, how can I stretch my market out without stretching out the dollar so I can still be competitive with somebody that spends 100 and I spend 40? That, these are all the conversations that we have on those calls that are important. And it's working together, right? And the one thing that I found through years of different mentors and different situations, you have to take the ego and pride out of it. And unfortunately, we have a lot of ego and pride in our industry. If you want to know how good I am, just ask me and just ask every other car guy. So, it is what it is.
That's right. So are you, as you point that out, I would say that is, golden nugget, the secret to your success is getting those, could be perceived as competitive vendors, to kind of set their differences aside and come to the good of your organization. Are there any big success stories that you surprised yourself with, or that you've witnessed, whether it's a community success story or a sales professional or your fixed ops?
When I went to Atlanta, and I took the job. Obviously, the two guys worked in the store and the GSM there. That I grew up with him. I knew who he was. And I started over. I eventually got a few guys to come to work. And then, and they had humble beginnings, right? They were in the car business, but they had humble beginnings. They came down. Then they brought some guys down. So there was 13 of us that were from upstate New York that came down. One of my proteges, who I'm super proud of, I had as a salesman, is now a partner in one of the stores in Atlanta for Rick Hendrick. So that to me warms my heart more than anything, just to watch that, because he was 21 when I got to him, and I trained him as a salesperson, and I gave him a career path, and I hit those deadlines with him, and he did his part, right, which was amazing to me. And that's the part that, and then most of the 13 guys, there was 2 of them that didn't, but most of those 13 guys, they're either partners in a store, they run a store, or they have their own business that they're super successful at. And we came from nothing, right? And we didn't come to hand out. So I love the car business because it gives you an opportunity, right? You could have a GED, no diploma, nothing. It gives you an opportunity to be successful and learn how to run your own business, because that's what it is. Like I tell the staff here, right, and my managers, you run your own business. I just provide the lights, the cars, the floor plan, all the things, but I'm a partner with you. If you get 30% as a salesperson, we're partners, because I'm just 70% to provide, right? For you to do it, right? And so, and that's where the coaching comes in, right? If you don't want to take the coaching, then your result's going to be what it's going to be.
Yeah, there's no question. It's interesting. I think about your variable ops background, but as the owner, principal, you probably had to take a crash course in fixed ops.
So I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah,
I got a unique way to tell you. So early on in my career, I had a service manager put me together, and I didn't know any better. I knew what every other GM knew, right? We talk about ELR and hours per RO, but don't know how to get there, don't know what it means, don't know what a perpetual bend count is, don't know how to do the parts counter. So we could tell you we can and we understand it, but we understand the mechanics. We don't understand how it works. right?
Yeah.
That's the truth. That's 90 to 95% of the GMs in the world today do have zero clue. So to separate myself, and I'll give some credit to Dan Clara and Dave Holt of Asbury, right? They said you got to learn fixed ops if you want to be successful, because fixed ops holds true in the downturn, and you will be it's gravy when the variable ops is through the roof, COVID or whatever you want to call it. It's just, it is what it is. When sales, you want the fixed absorption is the key, right? Most guys don't know how to get the fixed absorption. They'll just tell you got to get there. They don't tell you how to. So what I did was I took all my vacations for free in the stores I ran, and I became a parts counter person. I became a service advisor. I became a lane manager. I did perpetual bin counts. I did an order. I did everything. So I can never, ever have somebody, A, hold me hostage, B, know what they're talking about, and C, be able to help them. So I'll give you a in my store now, when I walked in here, we were $45,000 parts and service. We are now $125,000 a year and 3 months later.
Wow.
And I do give some other credit to Dynatron. I use Dynatron. Dynatron has helped me raise my ELR, also gave me some other processes to my service manager, who was the parts manager here for 12 years. The prior owner, when I was buying it, made him the service manager. He had no training. We had to do the training with him, right? And so he's been a great pupil. He's 27 years old, so I'm super proud of him. And I'm very fortunate. I'm very lucky. I have very good technicians, and they're just the whole team's great. So, and to give you a background, I bought the store out of bankruptcy. That's the part nobody realizes.
Wow.
So I'm very fortunate, and I have a great team, and I have a bunch of younger guys that understand the vision and the goal. And we're doing it together. It's a growth process, right? And so I can lead you to the water, but I can't make you drink it. It's just really
and so let's talk about that. You're in a rehab situation from a reputation standpoint, would be my guess, because nobody going out of business to bankrupts really is worried about their future, which would mean consumers' best interests are not necessarily provided for.
That's right.
Tell us about how you've recovered the reputation, and what's the pathway you recommend in that regard?
Well, I'll say this to you. I make myself available to the public, right? Like, they know I'm here. I didn't put my name on the building, not because to me, that's egotistical and vain. It really is. To me, what would it matter, right? It's Red River is what people recognize in this market, right? Red River is a symbol for this market, right? And so that's why I put it on the building, because it's not about me, it's about the people. Because if the people don't come, I'm not going to sell a car, I'm not going to service a car, I'm not going to make any money, and I'm going to be in the same boat. So what I did was I made sure I handled the customers and didn't blame it on the past owner. I just helped them the best of my ability without getting into the legalities of the bankruptcy, right? And so I helped a lot of those people. And then, I've also took care of people in the community that deserved it, that got a raw deal, right? Now, you can't make everybody happy. Let me just say that front. I try the best I can, but, again, you could give somebody a free car. Some people just aren't happy. It is what it is. So I do a lot of stuff in the community to be known. I let them know that they can get a hold of me at any time. They can call me directly. It's not like I hide. I don't make my managers go talk to them. I deal with all what I call heat cases. I deal with all. If you email me, I call you myself within an hour. I mean, I do the reviews online. I'm the one that gets them. Nobody else in the store. So I do that. I take that on my, it's just, you got to be, it's my business, number one, and it's my legacy. So I want to get treated. I want to treat people the way I want to be treated. Right now, here's the thing. I only have one rule in the store, and I tell this to my staff. It's respect. Everybody gets respect until they dishonor the respect. Then it becomes a different conversation. Right. And that's just really how it goes. Because here's the thing people don't realize. People come in upset, screaming and yelling and being nasty because they're scared, because they think that's the way to get what they want, instead of talking like an adult and coming to a resolution for two people. And it's really simple. Our car business is the easiest thing. We as human beings in the business make it harder than it's got to be. I'll give you one perfect example. Okay. It drives me nuts. So you got a car outside we'll use a used car or a new car. Okay. you lose money as a dealer. You make that choice because of floor planning, carrying costs, whatever you want to use as a thing, or a loss leader. Customer loves you. They take the deal. They want a second key. We don't find the second key. We say, you got to pay for it.
Yes.
Now they're mad. So the salesman says with the manager who didn't talk to him, and I'll get to, there's a part of my process in my store. So the salesman tells the customer no and fumbles over that whole thing. And now the customer's more mad. And then they're calling the manager who he's trying to justify why they can't have a key. Okay. Yeah. He's like, hey, we lost $3,000 selling you the car. The customer don't care. That's not what they agreed to. They negotiated the price you gave them. You said yes to it, right? Yeah. Then they get to the GSM or GM, and then to me, right? Yeah. Which, if I'm giving you the scenario of what normally happens across America.
Sure.
So I always tell these guys, if it gets to me, it's free. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, I'm not going to fight with somebody if we owe it to them. They don't know that we lost money. They don't care that we lost money. It's customer service. If you lost $3,000, what's wrong with $3,250? And at this point, you got a happy customer and they live 10 miles from the store. What are we talking about? We don't look at the big picture.
Yeah. And, I'll give you a couple of anecdotes from my father. He lived to 94 years old and he raised nine kids in the car business. And he said, you never want someone driving down the highway, gripping that steering wheel, cussing your name as they're going through there. And I remember as a young manager, one time I asked a customer to leave, and it took about 5 minutes before my dad heard about it. And he called me in and he goes, look, I pay a lot of money to get people to walk through those doors. If someone needs to be walked out, I want the pleasure of doing that.
That's right.
I don't want you to do it. And so I recognized at that point that my only job was really to take care of the customer and make them feel really good. And your story reminds me of a Kansas City dealer. His name is Carlos Ledesma. And you can Google him. He's done quite well for himself at the Cable Dahmer Auto Group. And I took a 20 group there one time, and he gave us all these coins. And on the coin, it said, you've got the power. And it had some other logo on it. And, and what he said by that is, you've all got up to whatever the dollar amount was at the time to satisfy the customer.
That's right.
Similar to you, if it gets to him, it's free. So he wants them to exercise the power. And I thought, well, that's and so they carry that around in their pocket. If he walks up to them and says, hey, have you got the power today? And they don't have their coin, he's probably going to talk to him. But
well, you know where a lot of that comes from, and I'll say this, it starts from the top. And the reason why, what we find in the car business, or I found, right, is that everybody wants to be in control.
Yes.
Well, it's real simple. If you give control, you'll have all the control.
Yeah.
And what do I mean by that? Your staff's scared to be empowered because they got berated by a manager because they came to him and said, hey, and I'm going to tell you, I've witnessed it and it drives me nuts. So the salesman goes, hey, the lady'd like a key. The manager goes, I'm not giving her key. You tell her I'm not giving her key because I lost $3,000 on the deal. Well, he's the one that made that decision.
That's right.
So now he beat the salesperson up. So the salesperson's like a scolded dog, goes out to the customer. Yeah. The customer's like, this is crazy, right? I'll give you a perfect example. Just happened the other day. Customer came in. We made some money on the customer. She had punctured a tire. She bought the car 4 months earlier. And the service manager goes, hey, the tire's $330. She's like, hey, do you think maybe you can help me out? I'm sick. And I'm not going to get into her personal business. But anyways, they turned her away and were ordering a tire. She was coming back. So I found out about it. I went and looked at the deal. I'm like, wow, we did okay, right? I called her up. I said, hey, I ordered the tire. You don't have to pay for it. Just come and get it. Because here's the thing. She's in the community. She's 10 miles from my store. She's coming back. We made a profit. Why? Yes. I'm beating her up over $300. When I'll use 3,000. So I'm giving back, right? Like, why wouldn't you do that? That goes so much farther than being greedy is what I call it.
Yeah. There are no algorithms that beat human kindness. I mean, it is just the right way to go. So speaking of that, if you were looking back to the beginning of your starting point, you come back and you start at that dealership in New York, What advice would you give to a young Frank that you wish you would have known then?
Not to stress yourself out for somebody else's opinion or judgment, right?
Yeah,
You know, I grew up in the era of it was almost verbally abusive to a degree. I don't want to
mm,
make it sound like it like I wouldn't say it was that, but it was very harsh the way we
sure.
talked to each other, right? And then it kind of translated out to the customer that way, you
Yeah,
know? And I just, as I got older, I realized that that's just not the way to communicate. Communication is the key to all the problems in the world, marriages and work and dealerships and people. I wish I knew that as a kid that I'm not always right. It can't be my way. And the person that I'm learning from doesn't mean that they're right the way they're handling the situation.
yeah,
And I think that's the message I would give to my younger self is that there's a better way to, I'll give you this. People don't care to know what you know until they know you care.
you
That's what
bet.
I've learned through my career. And then
Yeah, and
you can
that's
have
really, really
empathy.
powerful.
Thank you. And you can have empathy, just don't have sympathy. Sympathy creates
Yeah,
victims, empathy creates understanding.
good. Yeah, there's no question. And then, of course, there's that guy that says, "Don't you feel sorry for me? I wanted to make more money." And my dad used to say, "Son, you can give yourself a raise. There's cars and
Anytime.
junk cars out
Yes, sir.
there on the lot."
Absolutely, David. Absolutely.
So, so
I,
let's move. Go ahead, Frank. You got something you want to say
Well,
there?
here's the thing. You're the value proposition. We've gotten away from value proposition, okay, like the old days, and we're just focused on price, right?
Yeah,
Who's going to race to the bottom? What do
yeah,
you offer that separates you in price? If you call around the dealerships and ask somebody, hey, and this has been proven time and time again, you call, they all sound the same. What's the best price? Well, it's the one on the internet. They don't
yeah,
ask the name. They don't get the phone number. They leave it at that. As I tell
yeah,
my salespeople, you have up to $500 more to go. And if they say no to that, ask them why. Tell them what is the reason that if 500 wasn't good enough, more than the best price that I have online, is it
yeah,
1,000? Is it what is it? Because you have to
yeah,
write the check, right? Instead of going, no, my best price is online. That makes 0 sense. That
yeah.
you're insulting the customer. They know
Well,
that.
that's right. That's exactly right.
That price
Yeah.
wasn't good enough. That's why they're calling.
So, Frank, there's no way that we can end this without talking about your new employee, the one that is just hovering around the technology that you employ your dealership. What about AI? Have you named AI? Is it someone told me the other day we call our AI Allen Iverson or something to that effect?
Call it assisted intelligence is what I call it.
Yeah.
Assisted intelligence. Here's the thing. We are so, I don't want to say the wrong thing. We are so looking for something, a tool to do something for us that we could do ourselves.
Oh,
And we
yeah.
think it's going to do it and it doesn't. Like
Yeah.
it just like I'm going with a company called Active Engagement because there's the human element that uses AI.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
the reason why I'm switching to that, you know how many times I've lost a deal because the AI got confused or didn't
Uh,
answer the question or said the car wasn't here and it was. And
mhm.
those things happen. I don't care what anybody says, and I'm going to make a lot of people upset when I say it. We are not in the automation for AI that it can do it on its own. It still
Yeah.
needs a human being. It does. It will never be there. The companies
Absolutely.
out there create it on Chat GPT, then they throw it against the wall, and dealers just want shiny new toys and they take whatever somebody gives them. And then when it goes bad, they talk bad about everybody. And really, they didn't do their homework, if that makes sense. I mean, I don't want to upset people on your show, David, but I just got to be honest.
Not at
I like
all.
AI. I use it, right? But I
Sure.
know that it makes mistakes. And they've even come out and said 30% of the time it will make a mistake. So why do we
Mhm.
count on that to do our job? Why do we
Yeah.
count on it to do the job? Yeah, are there
Mhm.
1% success stories with AI? Absolutely. There are, let's call it
Yeah.
5%. Digital retailing still hasn't taken off where you can buy a car from your house, right? This is one thing I've learned.
Yeah.
You cannot test drive a car from the house, number one. And you will never be able to get a true trade number until your trade is at the dealership, or you're not getting it from a picture. They all hit you low anyway. So until they figure that part out virtually, people got to come to the store.
Yeah, and yet, as you clearly know, they don't have to come to your store. So
Okay.
let's talk about the key takeaways. Wrap this up and tell me, what do you want people to take away from this conversation?
You know what? Let's stop being lazy and counting on people that you're coaching, mentoring, and training. And I'll give you an example. Why would you give a financial pencil to a person that's a 7 to 10 car guy that's only been in a car business 2 or 3 months to make that transaction that's scared out of his mind, who really you should focus on how did we build value in the features and benefits of the road to the sale? Did they butterfly the car and show the car and give people an opportunity? We're so consumed with getting to the yes and the close and the
Yeah,
money that we've lost the value proposition in the business. And listen, I blame COVID for that. I blame COVID. I blame the industry for poor training. I blame COVID for ruining the business. I do, because you know what? We need to go back to basics. And that's what I do
mhm,
at the store. I don't have some magic wand or pills or something that they take and they just become good. It's consistent coaching every day. It's not telling them they suck, telling them this is where you went wrong. What do you think you could have did better? And this is what I think you should do. And what do you think about that? That's how I handle those things, right? And
boy,
go back to basics, period.
you
That's
know,
where we are in the car business.
we can't hear it too often. It is so true. Well,
Yeah.
Frank, this has been a delight. You are all that was advertised, and
Well,
I'm
I
so
appreciate you.
grateful for Dave Lemon recommending that we talk to you. So,
Well, thank you,
thank
David.
you
Thank
all
you for
very
having
much. Oh, you're sure welcome. And I want to say thanks to our audience for joining us today here on the Kain and Friends podcast, and for the sponsor of Dealer OMG. Frank, thank you again, and
Thank you,
we'll see
David.
you down the road.
You got it. See you soon.
Bye bye.